That's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. Well, that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Oh, wow.
Hello. Welcome, everybody,
Hello.
to Retro Fandango
Hello.
episode number 239.
239 and feeling fine. Isn't that what Homer Simpson weighed? Rocket sauce there.
Oh, that's totally a sauce reference. And yeah, he's not here. He's not here to witness it.
Oh, man.
What was the number that he had to be over to be officially be declared obese?
Oh, morbidly obese?
Yeah, morbidly obese, right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
He didn't rhyme that one.
Yeah. Before we start,
It was maybe like 500 pounds or something.
No, was it? Was that his starting weight? Was 239? I don't remember. I don't know. Anyways,
I don't know. I just know that in that episode he jumps into an ice cream truck, and the driver's reaction is one of my favorite moments in all of The Simpsons.
What was his
like,
reaction?
Go, take whatever you want. Take whatever you want.
I am overdue for a rewatch of that series, but right now I'm rewatching another series. Oh,
You're jumping right into it.
No, I'm just tickling your ass with a feather.
Oh,
because
okay.
We'll talk about it later. And hello, Deke. Thank you for patiently waiting for us to get our acts together. Before we start, I need to apologize to the listeners. First, I need to apologize for my microphone. Normally, I put my microphone up on a little box here, so I sound more on mic, and I forgot to do that the last couple of episodes. So thank you. Thank you to all the listeners and watchers who called me out on that. And two, our previous episode was too hot for YouTube.
Really?
Apparently. Yeah, we were banned from YouTube.
Get out of here. What did we say?
Oh my goodness. We were like, you have to order us on VHS on a late night TV infomercial now. That's how hot we were. No, get this. We got a copyright strike on our previous episode. Yeah,
did we play some sort of content?
We played some content. We played the promotional trailer, a commercial basically. You think they would want people to play their commercial, but apparently the folks over at, is it Fox? Does Disney own Fox? I don't know. Who owns Married with Children? Whomever those people are.
Right.
We're not pleased that we had used their promotional trailer for the new animated series for Married with Children in our program. So our channel, our tiny little channel, got a copyright strike against it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Now wait, was it the trailer or was it the Sinatra song that is featured in the trailer?
I'm not 100% sure about that because
I think I remember we talked about oh my god, it's Bill.
Bill, wow.
I think didn't we once talk about Married with Children streaming somewhere, but they didn't have the theme song?
Oh, maybe.
They might be really sensitive about that thing.
Perhaps, yeah, because the trailer did basically just play that theme song,
right?
Without any not much vocal interaction from anything else. But anyways, I was like, really YouTube, we're still doing this crap. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Well,
isn't it time for
YouTube,
you to go up?
Nothing. YouTube, it's just robots, listening for little things.
Yeah. Well,
you can't argue against a person anymore.
It has gotten better from what it was in the past. I had copyright strikes on the old channel a few times. The process is much better now. Basically, the holder of the copyright puts their claim on whatever it is they have, and if that thing that they have, that piece of video or piece of audio, is reused in another video, it's just automatically gets a flagged, right? So it's not a strike against the channel anymore. They don't do that anymore, I guess. They just automatically take the video down. It's down.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to decide if you want to re-upload the video. You have to take that portion out, which I could have done. I could have went
Right, or muted or something like that.
No, they actually they make you do like a cut, like right
like
where
a
it starts to right where it
Gotcha.
ends. They make you cut it out. That you do it all through YouTube. You don't have to take it down and do it in your software or anything.
Mhm.
They just say this is where it starts, this is where it ends, and they put it up. And it was fairly seamless. Like you could watch how it would look like if you were to do that. And we basically were talking, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that was interesting. Yeah, that was good. Like it just cut. And I thought, well, that's really awkward. That I don't know. I don't really like that. Plus, it's not like we weren't using it. We were it was under fair use, our use of that theme song.
Right.
It wasn't that we were trying to steal viewers from the official trailer of the Married with Children animated series, right? So I said, oh, let's fight it. Let's go ahead and fight it, because the worst that can happen is that YouTube doesn't look at it anymore. It used to be that YouTube would look at it and make a decision, but now it just goes right back to the content holder, and they are asked to look at the material and make a decision on whether or not it infringes their whatever reasoning they have to copy for copyright. So I put it under fair use, and then YouTube said this process could take 30 days. They have 30 days to look at it. If they don't look at it, if nothing happens, it just goes right back up. And there's no copyright claim. If it does, if they do not like it for whatever reason, they could decide, nope, we own this, and then I would have to cut that portion out of the video and re-upload the video. So it could have taken 30 days, but somebody must have looked at it within a couple of days. I noticed our views went from 5 to 7. So somebody,
Man.
So somebody there must have looked at it.
It was probably David Faustino.
It could have been. Who knows? What else is he going to do? Yeah, he's looking for work. Why not? So yeah, somebody there must have looked at it and said, yeah, this is fine. So it was put back up. I checked on it yesterday. I think yesterday I looked at it. It was back. So so the problem with them taking it down was that I used the YouTube video for the audio. For like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, is this going to be a lost episode? I hope not. I thought like, well, we have, like maybe through the back door, I could get in there, because it's not, although it's not published, like I could still look at the video and that. But then the software I use, if there's any sort of copyright claim, or if it's not public, it won't let you rip the video or the audio from YouTube. So I was like, well, we'll just wait it out, see what happens. The worst that can happen is that the audio doesn't get posted for another couple more weeks and it's cut. I mean, that's the worst that can happen. But it all worked out. It was fine. But it's a little well, I was kind of curious about how how much the process has changed since the last time I had a copyright strike, like, I don't know, 5 years ago at least. And it used to be really just really stupid. It was just a dumb process. You would send it in and you would say like, it's been this is used with fair use, and it would just come back, nope. And there would be no explanation given or anything like that.
Right.
Kind of like what happened. I think it happened to STC Pod the one time. I think they had some sort of video that was, they had a copyright strike one time, and there was no reason given or anything.
Well, it's been nothing but bad press for YouTube every time something like this happens, because then people just make another video saying, I can't believe YouTube did this. Everything is under fair use, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So YouTube just said, forget it.
Yeah.
Copyright holders, you deal with this.
Yep.
stepping out.
Yeah, you're right. So it was much easier though this time around, and having that option just to cut it out and post it was okay. It would have been okay. Would have been second prize, but we got first prize. We got the video as originally intended, so you can watch or listen to episode 238 anytime you like.
Stick it to the man.
That's right. Now, just wait for I guess we're not on Anchor anymore. The audio portion's Spotify for podcasts now, because Spotify bought Anchor like a couple of years ago, and they, again, it was like, oh well, we're not going to change anything, and then eventually, just before Christmas, I think they forced us to move the audio to Spotify for podcasters. I'll wait for that to come back with a copyright strike. Yeah. I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how the whole thing works. Like, you watch some things on YouTube and they're using copywritten material all over the place, songs and music clips and videos and all that. And it's fine. But then for some things, it's not. I don't understand how it works,
I don't know, because quite often you can find whole television episodes, movies, really long movie clips sometimes the entire movie.
Yeah.
I mean, when I want to listen to a particular song, I go straight to YouTube and everything is there.
Yeah. Well,
Now, sometimes they have their official channels where they
yeah.
allow it, but still, there's plenty out there that is not part of the official channel.
Now, I get that some of it, like the stuff that they're using, the original copyright holder hasn't done anything with it. Like, they haven't put in, so that falls under that gray area. But they're like, some videos, like I watched this one guy, Todd in the Shadows, and he does a breakdown of certain albums and albums that have failed and whatnot. Very interesting videos, but like, he's using all the music from the album and from clips that he's pulled from YouTube and all that, all in his. It's great stuff, but it's like, how does this not get any sort of claim or anything? Because he posts his stuff and it's, I don't know, maybe he, because I think you can upload it and then wait for YouTube to come back to you with, like, they'll tell you if there's any sort of problem before you post it, but we go live right away, right? So that process is not there. But anyways, yeah, like if you were to do like if you were to edit a video, YouTube will tell you if you have any sort of claims or any sort of problems before you post it, which is another good thing, I guess. Anyways,
I don't know. Probably a bunch of under the table shenanigans going on.
Probably.
Palms being greased.
Probably. Well, a lot of this stuff, it's like, it's only promoting the music or, the TV show, like just what like we were doing. We were just talking about it. I don't know how many people are talking about Married with Children, the animated series, but I'm sure we at least, informed one person.
Well, I'll tell you, in all honesty, until you brought up this story about the show being flagged, I completely forgot about that show.
Well, I didn't know it was flagged. Actually, Bill sent me a message saying that he couldn't watch it. I'm like, what is this? So I eventually would have found out when I went to rip the audio. But anyways, that was that. That was that drama. There we go. 2 informed now. Yes, Deke, there is a Married with Children animated series coming up. Bill had Conan on Larry interview pulled by Turner a few days after being published. Yeah, they'll do that too. Like, they'll see something, and they're like, oh yeah, we should copyright that. But
how many videos are being uploaded every single day? Like, even the robots can't keep up with all this content.
Well, that interview might have not been uploaded before, or they just didn't put a copyright on it until they saw it, and then they thought, "Hey, that's ours. Let's get them to take that down." Okay, that was the one piece of real life. Here's another piece of real life. I had a leak in my house.
You had to take a leak in your house?
Yeah, I wish that if that was the only problem I had. No, I had a leak.
Outdoors, au natural.
So I had done that too. Yeah, the other day I was coming out of from the garage, and you have to walk through our laundry room from the garage to get to the rest of the house. And as I'm walking, I noticed that there was all water on the floor, and by our central vac unit, there was like water on it. I'm like, this isn't good. And I look up, and it's the only part of the house where there's a false ceiling, and the water was falling from the tiles. I'm like, this isn't good. So I pulled those tiles out, and I could see the pipes coming from the upstairs kitchen sink that come down into the basement, and water was dripping down them. I'm like, this. Now, it wasn't a very fast leak, but it was enough of a leak that it was concerning. It was more than condensation or anything like that.
Right.
So I went upstairs. I pulled out everything from underneath the sink. The way the pipes work in this house, in my old house, they went right, like the pipes went straight down.
Okay.
So if you had any sort of leak or whatever, you could see it. In this house, they go down and into the back wall. And the reason why they do that is to give you more room underneath the sink to put stuff, right?
Okay.
So you don't have those pipes taking up a lot of room, which is nice. But if you got a leak, it's a lot harder to see what's happening. So I feel pretty confident in fixing things like a sink or a drain from a sink or that kind of stuff. But when we get going into the walls and that, you start having to cut open things and starting having to look and all that, I got to pass that on to the professionals. So this was a Thursday evening and or Wednesday. It was a Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm like, we need to call a plumber. So we called. Yeah, it was a Wednesday evening. So then Thursday morning, I put out on Facebook. I was asking my friends like, who, let me know if there's any plumbers out there. And so someone put me in contact with a friend of the family. And I got in contact with them, and they're like, I got to tell you, we're really busy right now. The earliest we can come is Tuesday. And it was Thursday, Tuesday. So it was going to give us like 5 days with this problem. So what we decided to do was not use the water on the main floor where the kitchen is. So we didn't use any water up there, and we didn't use any water in the upstairs bathroom, and just use water in the basement level. So that's where our shower is, and the laundry tub and the washer and dryer. So we were still able to use water down there, but we didn't use it upstairs.
Okay.
It didn't make too much sense why we could use water down there and upstairs. Like if you start using it, it would start leaking, but that's what was happening. So for a few days, we were, doing like we weren't using the dishwasher or anything like that. We were bringing the dishes downstairs and washing them in the laundry tub, which really sucks because the laundry tub is really low. You don't notice how low a laundry tub is until you start trying to like hunch over it and doing dishes. Eventually, I started using like a container. And I put water in the container and get them all sudsy, get the soap all sudsy, and then I'd put it up on a table, and that made it a little better because you were like a little up more.
Yeah, I deal with that every single day because the countertops in Japan are just like much lower.
Yeah.
And a couple of centimeters doesn't sound like much, but if you're doing it every single day, boy, it builds up.
Yeah. So yeah, we did that for a few days, and then the plumber showed up on Tuesday. They said they were going to show up at midday. I said, okay, midday. That's like noonish, 2:00 the latest. Guess what time they showed up?
Well, immediately when they said they'd show up ... I didn't need to hear anything else. It's just that Seinfeld episode is playing in my head of when Kramer's waiting for the
cable guy,
the cable guy.
Or the phone guy was or am I thinking the cable guy of the movie, or I don't know.
That was one of those.
Well, they surprised me. Instead, they showed up at 10:30 a.m. I was still cleaning up and everything. I'm like, oh god.
Right.
So they showed up at 10:30. And I'm explaining everything that's happening and that, and they were like, "Yeah, but the water that was coming down was a little bit dirty." I'm like, "I think that's because it was leaking in the wall and it picked up some." And they're like, "Yeah, it might picked up some dirt, whatever." So they tore a hole in the wall behind the sink, and they look back in there, and everything's dry. Everything's bone dry. I'm like, "Well, it doesn't start leaking until we start using water up here." So we started running things. We ran the dishwasher a couple times. We were running the hot water, running the cold water. We even went in the bathroom and ran stuff in the bathroom. Couldn't get the leak to happen again.
Hmm.
They were there for an entire hour. They couldn't find the leak at all.
How
They
big
even
of a
took
hole did they cut in the wall?
It was, well, first he cut around. There's like this, you might have noticed, like you're under the sink where your drain is, you got like this kind of access thing with a square on it. It's like a
I don't
square
think I
thing.
have that.
Okay, well, that thing that thing is like, if they need to snake, put the snake, you've heard of the snake, in down the drain
Right.
and all that stuff to snake out
Hmm.
stuff. That they use that, like the plumber will use that to access it. So he cut a square around that to see
Hmm.
if, because he was thinking that's where the leak was, because a lot of times that's where the leak is, because that's like an access area, right?
Okay.
And he's like, if it wasn't screwed back right or whatever, that could have been where the leak is. So first he did a square around there. He couldn't see anything. So then he ended up cutting down, like right to the bottom of the countertop, like, or the
Mm.
counter cabinets, the bottom of the counter cabinets underneath the sink. So it
Hmm.
was about, I don't know, maybe like 2.5 inches wide all the way down. So maybe like 5 inches down. It was enough to put a phone in there and take a look around, and
Hmm.
record some video and whatnot, see what's happening in there.
Okay.
So it wasn't too bad. He kept all the pieces in that too, so I could just place them back in there. It's all underneath the sink and behind a bunch of crap anyway, so I don't really
Okay.
care that much. But we couldn't recreate the leak. It just wasn't happening. Then he took the bottom from the dishwasher off and he looked under there. He's like, "What? Just imagine it be the dishwasher this whole time." And he looks under there. He's like, "I see some like evidence of a leak at some point, but there's nothing leaking there right now. And there's water in the dishwasher. Like when you run the dishwasher, um, there's still some water in a dishwasher, right? It doesn't like suck everything out, though it still holds a little bit of water at the bottom. And there was water
Hmm.
in there, but nothing was leaking. So, and we ran it, not a full cycle, but we ran it, about like a 15-minute cycle twice. Nothing happened. He was there for an hour. After an hour, he's like, "Look, if I stay for another hour, I'm gonna have to charge you for another hour. So, I just suggest you use the water like you normally would. And if the leak happens again, just call us and let us know."
Hmm.
I'm like, "Okay." So rest of the day, we just started using the water like normal. No leak, nothing at all. Next day, we're using water and everything. I am down in the laundry room and I'm doing laundry, and we had a bucket under there, and I hear drip, drip. And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." And I look up, and there's the leak. It's leaking again, but the water is coming from a different place this time. It was coming down from one pipe before, and now it's coming from like this T connector thing. And I'm like, what is going on here? But we got the leak. So now that the plumber had opened everything up, I can go and look in there. So I did the same thing. I took those pieces out and I stuck my phone in there and all that. I'm looking behind the wall and that it's all dry. No water there at all. I'm like, what is going on? So then I go and I look underneath the dishwasher, and there's a big pool of water under there.
Mm. Okay.
And the reason why I didn't think it would be the dishwasher is because where the pipes go down into the basement, and the drain goes down into the basement, the water would have to form a pretty big puddle before it got there, and you would see it on the kitchen floor. But the way they did our kitchen floor is they put the new flooring on top of the old flooring, and the water was actually
Ah.
seeping in between and getting down into it that way. Oh, you son of a! I'm
Hmm.
so pissed because dishwasher I could do no problem. Dishwashers are easy, right? So I get under there. I'm like, well, at least I found it. At least I got to the leak, and I just I put a towel under there and sopped up all the water and everything, and then I went downstairs and the leak did stop. So that was definitely what was happening. So then I went in to go and tighten. It was so basically it was the line feeding into the dishwasher where it was leaking, and it goes into like an elbow and it goes up into the dishwasher and it was right there. So I go to tighten it, but then it turns out that it's connected to another part of the dishwasher and it's going to be a little bit more to fix than tightening it. And I'm like, I said to Sarah, we both hate this dishwasher because it will, it's like 9 cycles, it'll do like 9 loads, right? And everything will come out fine. Everything will come out clean. But that 10th load, there'll be like a 10th load where you'll take everything out and everything's all dirty. And we can never figure out why. Like, why does it just like once in a while not clean properly? And I figure what's happening is that because there's that leak in there, that it's not building enough pressure and not like, it's like limp water hitting your dishes. It's not like cleaning them like it should, right? It gets impotent. It needs that Viagra.
Gotcha.
So and it's one of those dishwashers too that you can't fit the plates in right. You have to like lean them over, and we just don't like it. We've never liked it, and we've been looking for an excuse to replace it. So like, perfect. This is the perfect excuse to get rid of this thing. So thankfully, it was just a dishwasher, and we went online, shopped around a little bit, and ordered ourselves a new dishwasher. So we got one coming
Nice.
in a couple of weeks. So yay.
No, I'm just glad the story didn't end with you realizing you were peeing yourself and not knowing it.
Yeah. Well, we're still a few years
There's
away
water
from
on the floor all the time.
that. What movie was that I just watched? Where that was indeed. Oh, it was that Succession show. Very first episode of
What?
Succession. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
That's what that show's about. He's this rich guy he owns this huge media company, and he's starting to lose his marbles a bit. And that's why, like, the family, all his children are swarming in, trying to take control of the company, before dad completely loses it or dies. But in the first episode, he's like pissing in corners of his place because he thinks he's in the bathroom, right? And he doesn't realize that he's actually in the closet or in the corner of the living room or whatever.
Oh my. I'm sure that show gets flagged by a bunch of mental health experts.
Probably. Yeah. So what's been going on with you?
Hmm.
Anything new or exciting?
No, nothing like that. I've never had a dishwasher, so I can't share in your struggles there. My dishwasher's right here.
Yeah. No, we've had a dishwasher since 2003, and I don't think we're going back.
Wow. The only leak I've ever experienced, I've never had a leak here. None of the places I've been in Japan, but where I grew up, we had it was in the city, so we had all the like connected housing. So like your house was connected right up to the places next to you,
Yeah,
and they're all just like a
townhouses.
row. Yeah, so just like a row of houses there. And we had a neighbor who would like to go up on the roof and walk around in the summertime. My mother always told him, "Yeah, you can't do that. You're gonna damage the roof. You're gonna, start cracking it walking around up there.
Yep.
And we share a roof, so please, we would appreciate if you don't do that." He'd do whatever he wanted. So one day we were upstairs in the upstairs closet, big heavy rain day, and the paint on the ceiling there starts to like bubble down because all this water is leaking in.
Collecting
And yeah, collecting, and it was like a really thick paint, a really thick coat, so it kept
latex.
bubbling and bubbling and
Yeah.
bubbling, and
Stretches.
it was just this huge bump coming out of the ceiling. We're like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do with this? My mom says, well, we can't leave it like that. We gotta pop it. So we got a bucket, and gouged it, and just all this dirty water came out. And then, the paint was ruined up there. I don't know. I think we just let it peel. I don't know if we ever repaired it, but then we had to get people up there to throw a bunch of new tar all over the roof and patch it up again. We had some neighbor. That guy, he was where was he from? Turkey? He didn't speak a lot of English, and he just had completely different ideas of how to maintain a house, in that he did not maintain his house.
Right.
His yard was always overgrown. He had trees in the yard that were not trees. They were just weeds that kept growing to
Yeah.
the point that they were the size of trees. So we're constantly hacking at the stuff. He wouldn't do that. He had all these dogs at one point. They just left them in the yard. They're all covered with fleas. He went away. He went away. He went back to Turkey, and he left the dogs in the yard. And there was like one can of dog food,
Oh my goodness.
and he left them there. When we realized what happened, we had to call the ASPCA, and they came and they took the dogs away. He came back like weeks or month or whatever later, and he's like, "Where's my dogs?" Like,
That's
you
awful.
left them. You left them in the yard.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He enjoyed having a little drink now and then too. So
Ah.
quite often we'd encounter him out in the street, just
Yeah. Real winner.
interesting folks.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do we want to talk about?
How about Steve McQueen?
Yes, I love talking about Steve McQueen.
Because I got myself a copy of Bullet.
Oh, I love that movie.
That is good. It's good
Yeah.
stuff. Love that car chase.
Yeah.
This has a whole bunch of recently. I don't watch a whole lot of these bonus features. I'm going through all these. I always feel great about getting a disc when it
Gotta get
has
them.
those.
You must
Like,
own
oh
them.
man, do I get the regular version?
No,
Or
you
do I
have
get
to
the one
own
with
them.
the commentaries and the behind the scenes and the
You have to
featurettes?
have all the commentaries. Watching them,
Love having all
listening
those.
to them, forget it. But you have to
Don't
have
have any time to go
No.
through all this stuff. But yeah, commentary, 2 feature-length documentaries, 1080p high definition and 5.1 audio. Great stuff
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, no, that's a great movie. I love Bullet. I think the first time I saw Bullet, I was a little too young for it. And I thought it was boring.
It is slow paced. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of him like in the hospital, just waiting,
Yeah.
having lunch.
Yeah. Definitely. The movies have definitely quickened up the pace since then. But iconic film, and it just influenced so many copycats throughout the 70s in film and in television.
Well,
Especially.
yeah, the whole idea of the down and out cop who
Yeah.
He's got relationship issues.
Well, that type of film really took over from the Western. Western was the big thing, the main
Mhm.
movie. You did have gumshoe films, like the stuff that Humphrey Bogart would be in and whatnot.
Mhm.
But those were always more, talk kind of films. Not a ton of action. You might get a gunfight or whatever. But then in the 60s, that's where the budget started to expand and they could start doing more things with cars and car chases and all that. And that's what people wanted to see more than guys riding on horses. And yeah, I love Bullet. Good times.
And you can get a great car chase like that. I mean, that's what the streets of San Francisco were made for.
Yeah.
Is having these 70s car chases.
Well, and San Francisco became a place for many more car chases, even in Dirty Harry,
Right.
So
Mhm.
very influential movie.
Well, that's
Good time.
right. Bullet was late 60s.
Yep.
67, 68, and then yeah, Dirty Harry didn't come out till the 70s.
Yep.
Yeah, fair point.
Okay. Anything else? That's it?
I was shocked to find out that Steve McQueen died at 50. He was pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it, a heart attack? that got him?
I believe he might have had some form of cancer. I'm not
Oh,
sure, but it was definite he had health issues.
damn cancer. Yeah. And he was making movies right till the end and had a bunch of good stuff in the 70s, including
Yeah,
The
there's still
Getaway.
I've never seen the Towering Inferno.
I
That
haven't
was one
seen
of
that
his
either.
later ones.
Yeah. That's one that's been on my list forever. It's one of those movies that has always escaped me, but
I almost bought it not too long ago too. I saw it in a store and I was like, maybe I get that. And I got distracted and I left the store
mm,
without buying it.
never
I
se-
gotta
never
go
se-
back.
never seen it to buy. I think I had I might still have the Atari game.
Oh, is it based on the movie?
I think so.
Is
Uh,
Steve McQueen on the cover of an Atari
I
cart?
don't think he's on the cover, but I don't know. I thought it was a movie tie-in game. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe they just took the name. Okay, that's it
I
for
got two
movies.
other
What else you got?
movies. Well, I got two. I've been rewatching a lot of things. So I don't know. I'll just go through them real quick. I rewatched the Peter Jackson King Kong from 2005,
Okay.
and I watched the extended version of it. It was like 3 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. Something ridiculous.
Okay.
And boy, is that movie not required to be 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Why would you do
Uh,
this? I'm curious.
because I hadn't seen it in a very long time, and I remembered not gelling with the movie. There was something about it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's one of those things where it's good filmmaking. Peter Jackson knows how to shoot a scene and everything, but boy, they don't know how to edit themselves. We're having so much fun. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And I mean that's why the theatrical cut, was I don't
Right.
know, half an hour, 40 minutes shorter, whatever it was. But
hmm
it just felt like more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. It could easily have been somewhere between 90 minutes to 2 hours, and you would have had a fun thing.
Well, why wouldn't you just watch the theatrical version again?
Because I hadn't seen the extended cut, and
Yeah. All right.
curiosity.
Okay.
I mean, every individual scene you can get into it and say, "Wow, you know what? This is fun. I wish that the pacing wasn't affecting my
hmm
enjoyment of it, or I wish that it was just condensed in some way."
Right.
But what are you gonna do? What are you get angry about a movie? You'd watch it or you don't. Well, I did. I should not have done this, but I rewatched The Matrix Reloaded because that was another one that I had seen only once, and I was like, I didn't like this movie, and yeah, I still don't like that movie.
I've only seen the first one. One time in the theater.
Oh, really? You've never
Yep.
seen the sequels?
No, I don't even remember too much what happens in the Matrix.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not a big fan of the original. You're
No.
definitely not gonna like the sequels. Yeah. I rewatched Reservoir Dogs. Uh,
Okay.
that I had seen only once, also back when we did it for a Film Dango episode.
Yep.
Going back to it, yeah, it's a pretty tight little movie. I
Yeah.
like. It's probably his shortest film because it came in at under 2 hours, and now everything he does is like the 2 hours and 40
Epic.
minute mark.
Yep.
Yeah. But nicely done. Uh, I did like that one more than I remembered. I rewatched Nobody, which I
Okay.
also had an issue with. One of those John Wick-esque
Yep.
movies from the writer of John Wick.
I have one of those on my list here.
Yeah, and yeah, I still can't get behind that one fully.
Yeah.
It just has some basic issues, and one thing that I didn't realize the first time is he's the one that escalates everything. The Bob Odenkirk character,
Yeah.
Mr. Nobody, whatever his character name is. Basically, the movie starts with a home invasion, and
Right.
he decides not to stop them. And then the result is he feels bad about himself, and his family thinks he's a wimp, and the cops are like, "Why didn't you do anything?" And then, of course, it's revealed, well, he has this past, and he could have easily taken them out, but he was trying to stay away from that life. But for but the catalyst that gets him to go after the people that broke into his house is that he realizes his daughter's bracelet is missing.
Right.
And for some reason that throws him over the edge. He's like, I gotta go get that. And he's all gung ho. He goes after the people that broke into his house, realizes they're pretty down and out. They've got a sick baby, whatever. And he feels bad about what he did. Then he leaves them, and a random encounter with another group of people makes him feel like, okay, I was so angry. I wanted to attack these people that broke into my house. I can't do that. But these yahoos over here, I'm going to attack them and beat them up. And he is the one that starts the fight. They don't they're obnoxious people, but they haven't done anything yet.
Right.
And he starts a fight with them and he cripples them. They make a point of him like saving a guy and not killing him, but still he basically put these 5 people in the hospital, probably with life altering injuries.
Right.
And then it goes off on this, big action thing and everything. So it just felt a little clunky to get him into that story because it wasn't those people. Again, it's the Russian mafia, just like John Wick. And
Yeah.
then it's like, just have that started. But maybe that's what happened. And they said, hey, this is way too close to John Wick. We need to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And some fun action scenes in there, but it just felt a little sloppy.
Yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5, and I remember liking the villain. I liked the choreography, the fight choreography, and I like Bob Odenkirk. But yeah, the story wasn't the best.
That, and I kept picturing Bob Odenkirk as being the Walter White character at the very beginning of Breaking Bad, where it's like the down on your luck guy,
Right?
and
Yeah.
he starts, getting into the
Yeah.
underworld stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of John Wick clones out there.
Oh
That movie
yeah,
really has, started. It's almost like Die Hard. It really has started its own
oh yeah,
subgenre
yeah, yeah.
of film.
I mean, that thing, that kind of, oh, I'm a retired dot 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 whatever, ex CIA, ex FBI. Isn't that the Taken series? I haven't seen those, but he's like, oh, I'm a
Taken,
guy who,
yeah,
the Denzel Washington's got the Equalizer. Tom Cruise did the Jack Reacher stuff. It's
yeah,
like they're all the same thing of like, I'm the guy you don't mess with,
yeah.
and I was out of it, but now you got me back in. I also rewatched Full Metal Jacket and The Graduate.
I haven't seen The Graduate in a very long time.
That's
Probably
why.
mid 2000s.
Oh. Well, I did this. I mentioned last time how I'm getting pretty close to having watched everything in my collection. So I went through and I took my little Garfield memo pad here
Of
and I
course. Yeah.
wrote down.
Is that not Nermal? What's her
No,
name?
it's Arlene.
Arlene. Okay.
Yeah.
His girl.
I hope we don't
Okay.
get copyright infringement
Oh,
on that. I just showed
Jim
that. Oh my
Jim
goodness.
Davis is furiously writing to YouTube right now.
John Davis.
Damn, that's it. Show's over. Canceled. It's been quite the ride.
So I've got these things that I need to watch for the first time, but I also have a lot of things that I haven't watched in a very long time. So I'm also trying to get to those. The Graduate, I was really impressed with some of the direction in that, some of the camera work. There's a lot of great shots. There's that iconic under the leg
Yep.
shot, you see all the time. But there's a couple of other really, really clever things going on in there. As far as the whole story, it's still, I don't know if it's a generational thing, if this was cooler back in the 60s, but
Yeah.
a whole relationship between those characters and just how they'd be so.
Bill's on the Garfield kick too. Everybody knows who Jim
Wait,
Davis is.
Jim Davis? I thought it was John Davis.
Let's see.
Or did I? I don't even remember
What did you say?
which
I
one
can't
I
remember
picked.
what I said. I might have said John
John
Davis.
Davis.
Let's see. Who? Jim Davis is a cartoonist. Jim Davis.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember which I said. I don't
You
care.
got me.
I care. Yeah.
I assumed his name. I'm sorry.
What were you talking about?
The Graduate.
Oh, yes.
And just how it's so. I mean, he. All right, spoilers for a 50-something-year-old movie here. He gets into a relationship with what was it, Anne Bancroft,
Yep.
the actress? Inappropriate relationship, and then there's this whole thing where he gets into a relationship with her daughter, and they just kind of like, they're just past that immediately in some ways.
Yeah.
At least by the end of the film, it's like, yeah, oh yeah, we can just look past that. Your mom was smacking you in the face at the wedding, and whatever.
That's the
People just kind
70s
of let it
photo.
roll off their back.
Yep.
Late 60s. Late 60s.
Late 60s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know. Dustin Hoffman's really good in it, though. He's it's one of those early bits where it's like, hey, that's a good actor right there.
Mm-hmm. What was the
And
other movie
Norman
you said?
Fell has a little bit.
Graduate and
I don't remember. Can you rewind the tape?
yeah. Bill is asking if you would have banged Anne Bancroft.
Oh, she is an attractive lady.
There you go.
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. Okay. Yeah, I'm due for a rewatch of that as well. Just Lee Emery, whatever his name is, that guy. That's the only part of the movie I like.
Lee Ermey.
Ermey?
Ermey?
Ermey was great. He was awesome in that movie. The rest of it was kind of me. I'm not a
there's
Kubrick
stuff
guy.
going on in it. There's stuff going on in there.
Well, maybe I need to rewatch it. Maybe I would appreciate it more now. I don't know.
There are a couple of YouTube videos I can direct you to after you watch it, and
Okay.
go over some of the things. There are things there. Whether you enjoy it or not, that's still a different issue. But there's some stuff going on.
I mean, I have it on 2 formats now. I have it on Blu-ray and HD DVD. So a watch is going to happen at some point.
Which one has more behind-the-scenes bonus features? That's the one you gotta watch.
I find that they basically had the same. Like they pretty much were the same. If you get an early Blu-ray release, unless you get some sort of re-release or something like that. I gotta say, I rewatched the Road Warrior, aka Mad Max 2.
That's a good
one. They both had the same amount of content on both discs, but the cover for the Road Warrior on HD DVD was much more colorful and vibrant. For some reason, on the Blu-ray cover, they washed everything out. It looked very gray and gross. I don't know why they did that on the Blu-ray.
Is it the same image?
Just exact same. It's just cropped a little differently. I probably should have grabbed them to show you, but I didn't think of it. Anyways,
I've been wanting to rewatch the first and third one because I've seen those only once. The second one I've seen a few times.
Yeah. Well, we had some rumblings here that we might go see the new Mad Max film. The
Furiosa movie.
Furiosa. Because we heard that the theater in downtown Sudbury was playing it for $8. And they have the reclining seats there, the nice big chairs. The Load
You should
Warrior.
check out the Load Warrior.
Bill's video collection is a little different than the rest of ours. You know what I'm saying? So it was $8, and so Sarah and I were thinking, $16 to see the film. Then you got to get the popcorn and all that. It might be a little pricey, but that's reasonable, I guess. Then we went on the website and found out it was $13 a ticket. They upped the price for that one, and we said, forget it, because it's coming out on streaming in like 2 weeks from now.
It won't be long. They've really seemed to have sped that process up.
Yeah, and
back when it was waiting for VHS, what did you wait? Like half a year for something to come out?
It would be at least a year. I remember it was at least a year for a while, and then they at some point they shortened it to 6 months, except for the Christmas movies, because they would get those on 2 Christmas cycles.
Right. Hmm.
And then it was like 3 months or something like that. I don't know. It wasn't very
Yeah,
long.
now the turnaround, I mean, they're
It's
losing
nothing.
money if they're not getting it out fast.
Sadiq watched it last night. Was it? How was the quality? Was it a cam or was it? Because I find on the Android box, as soon as they get to a streaming service, that Android box, they just throw it right up there. It's immediately. You'll get like a little. It'll start flashing WebDL version available, so you can just click on that. And actually, it's like the rental services that at first comes on, and then it goes to the streaming services. It says it was a cam. It was pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. I can't do the cam videos, no matter how good they are. I mean, that movie's 2.5 hours long. That was the other thing too. We'd have to sit for 2.5 hours in a theater, and I have to pee at some point. You know,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to pause it, even if no matter how comfy the seats are, I'm gonna have to pee. So, anyways, so building up to that, we watched Mad Max and The Road Warrior. Uh, Mad Max is I will defend that movie. I will die on that hill that it is a good movie. A lot of good action. Just the third act in the movie is where it starts to slow down. But those first, I don't know, 45 minutes or whatever, it's just nothing but all these crazy futuristic cars racing through the Australian desert with
Hmm.
all real effects. There is no CG in the film. I mean, there is one point where a stunt guy is on a motorcycle and he's driven off the road, and the shot goes to this part where the motorcycle like stops immediately and he's thrown from the bike and he
Hmm.
does like a flip, you know?
Wait, that's in
And
the second one.
was that in the second one or the first one?
I know there's that famous one in the second one where the guy like pinwheels over,
Yeah.
and that was a complete accident. But they said,
That's
"Yeah,
insane.
that's awesome." Put that in the
It's
movie.
insane because you could tell a lot of times. Yeah, I guess it was the second movie because you could tell a lot of times when they would use a dummy, basically. Like there's even that
Hmm.
one scene where the main villain has
Wes,
his lady or uh,
his
partner
consociate. Yes.
his partner on the back, and he does a wheelie. He drives away and does a wheelie. And you can so tell
Yeah,
like
and the
it's a
little.
dummy behind him because obviously they didn't want to put the actor back there, and he fall back, and yeah, that would not be good.
Mhm.
But yeah,
That
both of those.
actor, that
Yep,
actor, by the way, Wes, the main muscle right
yeah.
there. He was also the guy in Commando who fights Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, fun
Yeah,
fact.
Bennett let off some steam.
Nice. Uh, although, yeah, the thing, yeah, Deke says here, give us your gasoline. That's the thing that doesn't make sense in the Mad Max movies is why gasoline is such a commodity. I don't really
Mhm.
understand why. What are they transporting or trying to be in control of? Like the highways, nobody has any gas, so no one can drive on them. So what exactly what advantage does gasoline give you?
'Cause you get cool car chases.
Okay, I mean, that's the only part that doesn't make sense to me. I can understand water being a food, uh, but the gasoline thing, it just I don't know. Like I
It
get it.
makes for
Like
fun movies. That's why.
I get some of it is an allegory for the gasoline crisis that was happening in the 70s and that, but
Mhm.
like uh, what does Mad Max like his thing is always like, okay, just give me as much gasoline as I can carry. And it's like, well, where are you going? Where do you
Away
like
from here. That's it. Just
why
got
do
to
you need
get
all
back
this
to the open
gas?
road.
I don't get it.
And you got to
Still,
call it guzzling.
gasoline, sorry. The
Guzzling.
humongous, yeah. But anyways, they're great movies. They are a lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of good quality stunts. I did start watching Beyond the Thunderdome, and I got about 45 minutes in, which is a pretty, it's a pretty good
To the
chunk.
midpoint, yeah.
And yeah, I forgot how jokey that movie is. It's like I think that what's his name, George Miller. I think he
Mhm.
watched like the Return of the Jedi, or maybe it was Studio, or something. They were like, we got Return of the Jedi made a ton of money. You got to make a jokey Mad Max, because like there's a lot of, I don't know, just kind of dumb humor in it. Like the first two movies, you could kind of take them seriously in a way, but the third movie, it's just, I don't know, jokey. It's not.
It might have been a point, like the first one was definitely like a very low budget independent film. The second one still very much like that, where I don't know what permits were obtained or anything like that. It
Yeah,
was just like,
because
let's go shoot this stuff.
yeah,
The third one, then it probably got a little bit more Hollywood, a little bit more like, hey, we'll appeal to kids,
yeah, yeah,
we'll
totally.
sell
Like
some
that's,
action figures.
I think that's what they were going for. Yeah, and it just, I don't know, it's not as good. I might still finish watching it, but I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe just to put it on Letterbox that I watched it a second time, so I can get some sort of acknowledgement for the
Street
45
cred.
minutes. Yeah, that I spent on it. Okay, so I also
Are,
watched this
are you going
movie.
to rewatch the other one, the Fury Road?
Yeah, but I
I
want,
figure
so
that's the one you should watch right before Furiosa.
well, see, that one I want to get it. So now that we made the decision to watch it on the Android box, I want to get that viewing closer to when it comes on the Android box, because
Okay.
if I watch it now, I'll forget what I watched 2 weeks ago, right? So it needs to be fresh. So I'm trying to get it closer so I can watch them back to back, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So the another movie we watched had my buddy Frank over one evening, and he was looking at the Android box. He was like, "Oh, they got Monkey Man on there. I've been wanting to see that." I said, "All right, that's it. We're going to fire up Monkey Man and we're going to watch it." So Monkey Man is a Indian film. It
Okay.
stars the guy that was in oh damn it, what's that movie that won a bunch of awards from India a few years ago? The kid falls into an outhouse. What the heck's the name of that movie? Anyways, it was. So this movie, it's again, it's very John Wick-ish. It's just, there's a lot of good fight scenes in it. A lot of good choreography.
Corey, like Corey Feldman.
Choreography. A lot of good choreography with the fighting. Just the story was kind of bland. It's one of those stories where they tell it out of order to try to make it a little
Right.
more exciting. But once you get to those points, it's like, oh, okay. Well, actually, if you would have told me that at the beginning, I might have cared a little more about the character or whatever. But no, instead they have to like reveal things later on in the film. So it's kind of hard to talk about without spoiling things. So I will not spoil it because I don't want Bill and Joe to cry because they don't like spoilers. But I thought it was okay. I gave that one 3.5 stars as well for the fight scenes and all that. It's definitely worth a watch. Just be ready for some slow parts when the story is revealing itself, and it's kind of like you've seen this a million times before, and you're just seeing it again. But basically, I'll give you a little synopsis. So the guy, he's working. He finds a way to get into this corrupt, like where the corrupt police officials and all that hang out. They hang out in like this club, and he finds a way to get in there and start serving them, like working for them, basically serving them drinks and bringing them stuff and all that, and that because his plan is to start taking down some of the corrupt officials in this club, and he does it John Wick style. John Wick style. But yeah, overall, okay movie. Not too bad. Monkey Man. Just get those subtitles as well, because parts of the movie are in Hindu. I believe that's what they speak there. I don't know. Hindi. That's what I said. Hindi.
Have you seen the fourth John Wick movie?
No.
Okay.
I
haven't either. It's on Netflix and everything, but I Like I want to watch it, but I think it's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and I've seen John Wick like about 4 or 5 times, and
Hmm.
I've watched 2 once, and I've watched 3 once. So I kind of do I
You
just
getting your fill?
do I kind of just skip 1 and watch 2 and 3 again, and then watch 4, or do I start with 1 again? I don't know. So I'm just kind of like
I would say just watch three again. Well, if you haven't seen two,
I saw 2 once, and I haven't seen it in a very long time. And like 1, I have it's pretty much like solid in my memory, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's what one still stands alone as being like, hey,
Yeah,
that was a fun action movie. You
yep,
didn't really need to drag it all out, and it's kind of like
yep,
the Harry Potters, The first
yeah.
one, it's like, it's fun. It's Harry Potter. He's a wizard. All the backstory and expand that world to the point that I don't know. I will still watch it at some point.
Yeah, I do need to get to it. Um, okay, so I did watch um, a documentary on the Kevin Spacey and how
This is a
he
recent documentary
it's
of
it just came out like
okay.
last week. So there's been like rumblings in Hollywood to kind of let's accept Kevin Spacey again. Let's allow
Mhm.
him back into our fold. Let's let him make movies and whatnot. So I think that might have been the um, fire that uh, got this documentary together, because a bunch of people who were a bunch of young men at the time who were abused by Kevin Spacey have gotten together and decided to tell their stories for the first time on camera. And it's a 2-part documentary. They're both about an hour long, but you can count it as a movie watch on Letterbox if that's your goal. Um, Very interesting documentary. Kevin Spacey had some interesting ways to get people to do things for him,
Mhm.
and I'll just say I'll never watch Saving Private Ryan the same way ever again.
Oh,
Uh,
was he in there
he was
or
not in there. So one of the guys that
he okay.
so what he would do is he would groom like young actors who were trying to make it into Hollywood, right? He would find these people and he'd be attracted to them, and they'd be like, yeah, I was in Saving Private Ryan. I was one of this one guy. He was like one of the guys on the beach, right, in the film, and he
Mhm.
might have had like a line or two or whatever. He was actually an ex-military guy. Kevin Spacey had his eye on him, so he's like, hey, bring your reel to my place and that we'll watch it, and we'll get your career going in that. I'm all excited about your career. And these people, they're just so they're wanting to make it in the business and everything, like, yeah, let's
Mhm.
go, I'll go hang out with Kevin Spacey, and not ever thinking to themselves like, why would this guy like just be so interested in me? He wasn't out as a gay man yet either, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, he this one guy, he met up with Kevin Spacey, and went to his place a couple of times, and Kevin Spacey tried to come onto him, and he was like, I'm not into that and whatnot or whatever. But then
Little pause in your speech there.
they still
Was that
go
intentional?
they still go back for more. So so anyways, Kevin Spacey meets up with this guy one time, and they're walking down the street or whatever, and Kevin Spacey's like, hey, your movie there, Saving Private Ryan's playing. Let's go watch it in theater. This is 1997 or whatever. He's like, yeah, I'll watch my movie with Kevin Spacey. So he gets into the theater, and Kevin Spacey picks a row in the back to sit in, because he doesn't want to be bothered by anyone because he's such a huge star, and he's go back there, and they start watching the movie, and the guy's watching the film, and it's the first time he had seen the film,
Mhm.
because like he was in it, but he didn't realize like how graphic and everything was with all the invasion of Normandy and all that at the beginning of the movie. And he was waiting for his part to come up and all that. And he's watching the movie, and then he looks over at Kevin Spacey, and Kevin Spacey is having fun with himself while
Oh
watching the
my.
invasion of Normandy and Saving Private Ryan. And then he tries to like grab this guy's hand and bring it on over, and
Mhm.
good times, good times. Anyways, if you
All
have
right.
any feeling that like maybe we should let Kevin Spacey back into mainstream Hollywood, give this documentary a watch. I think it was called let me get you the title. Spacey Unmasked. Spacey Unmasked. It reminded me a lot of that Bill Cosby documentary that had come out, I think, last year or the year before. Good times. Okay.
All right.
So Mad Max, Monkey Man, Kevin Spacey, talk about the leaky house. Okay, that's it. I got everything. It's time to talk about everyone's favorite TV show in the entire world. Everybody loves Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Hey, oh, it's French too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm Canadian, you know. By the way, Sauce gives us a lot of garbage about having all the French on all of our stuff. But man, I'm watching those cop videos from Wisconsin, and they got a lot of French names. Like you got La Crosse, Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Le River, Wisconsin. There's lots of French in Wisconsin. So I don't know why he's giving us crap. Anyways, it had been about 15 years since I had watched Star Trek: The Next Generation. And this is the first time I watched it on this Blu-ray set that I had purchased. So if you don't know anything about the Star Trek: The Next Generation, you'll know that the fans know this, but people who don't know anything about it don't know that the show was originally shot on film. It was shot on film, but then at some point when through the process of putting in the special effects and all that, they had to dumb down the show to video, because that is what they used to put in all the visual effects, like the Enterprise flying through space, and the phasers and all that stuff. Everything was down converted to basically, I think it was like 280p, which is like 480i, which was the standard at the time, standard definition. And anytime they have tried to blow those up convert them into high definition, it just doesn't look good. The special effects doesn't look good. Nothing looks great, because your scan lines on your old TV would hide a lot of the effects and all that. Now you can kind of see where the edges are and all that. So for this series, back in, I think this Blu-ray set came out about 10 years ago. For this, they actually went and recompiled the shows, took them all and like from scratch, basically all the original film material and everything, and they re-edited the shows, took everything shot from shot and compiled them all together, and then redid all the special effects for this Blu-ray set, to the point where it lost a ton of money because a lot of people did not buy it. It flopped big time, because I remember when those sets came out, the individual seasons came out, they were well over, this is in Canada, of course, but in Canadian dollars, they were well over $100. I'm talking like 130, 150 for a season of Star Trek.
Right.
It was insane. And at the same time that they're doing all this, Netflix is coming and taking over, and everyone's skipping right to streaming. Everyone goes on about who won HD DVD or Blu-ray, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff, honestly, was skipped right over. DVD, most people went from DVD right to streaming. So this set didn't make much. The sets didn't make much money at all. And that's why we got like cheaper versions. This is the complete series that I have here.
That's the one you want to get anyway.
And well, it's everything. It doesn't have like the packaging for the individual seasons is obviously a lot better than this one. This is like the
yeah, you get a ton of discs in one of those big,
like it's
shelves.
a big bin there and a ton of discs in there. But yeah, these is the one you want to get, because as they were putting together the seasons, so we were talking about extras and all that. I did watch the 23-minute documentary about them putting together these seasons. Yoda would destroy Spock, says Planet of the Apes. I don't care. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so as they were compiling the seasons and putting the seasons together, not every special effect, not every shot, not every reel that they had for, like, say, episode 1 would be in the box with all the stuff that they had for episode 1, because they would reuse special effects, right, in other episodes.
Mhm.
So a shot that they would have on a reel in a can that they would need for this one particular shot in episode 1 might be because they reused an effect in episode 23 or in another season of the show or even in one of the films. It's
Okay.
gone. It's not there. It's in when they used it again, and they didn't really keep track of that. So they have it, but they couldn't find it. So if you bought the individual seasons, there are times when there would be like a 14-second shot where they had the only thing they could do, because they didn't have the original negative, they would have to upconvert the old TV show. So it would look great, and then there'd be like 13 seconds where it would just look like crap, because they're just
Okay.
upconverting the old TV show because that's all they had. But as they're
Hmm.
working on, so they have season 1 done, they send it out. As they're working on the later episodes, they would find the shot. They're like, oh, that, and they would
Mhm.
actually go back and fix it. And so
Okay.
all those corrections and everything are on this set. So like if the 13 seconds missing would be corrected and redone. That's insane that they actually
Mhm.
went through that much trouble while the series is flopping in sales. Because they just went through a crazy amount of detail. They even got that what's his name, Michael Odeka, the guy and his
Oh,
wife.
the guy who knows everything, all the
Right,
tech manuals and all that.
right, and he's like the like they rely on him as their avenue to the fans, right? Because they,
Mhm.
like, any kind of change or anything they want to make, they always go through those two, because they know if the fans would accept it or not, right? And they would even they would have like basically last say on how the show would look. Like there's one shot, an encounter at Farpoint, where the Enterprise meets the space alien. That might be a little bit of a spoiler. Sorry, spoiler alert. But meets someone, the space alien. And in the original show, as the Enterprise meets this gigantic space alien that dwarfs the Enterprise, there's a shadow that's put onto the Enterprise. And when they originally did the effect, they forgot to put that shadow. And this Odeka guy, he was like, you missed that shadow. And they actually went back and redid the entire special effect to put that shadow in to please him, because they don't want to piss off the fans. That's the level of detail they went. Can you imagine if the special Star Wars special edition was done like that? Like,
Mhm.
but so they didn't want to change the look of anything or anything like that. So as I'm watching, because before I watched the documentary, I'm watching the series. I'm watching Encounter at Farpoint, and I was a little disappointed because some of the shots of the Enterprise look CG. It didn't look like the model of the Enterprise. I'm like, oh man, this isn't great. But it turns out the reason, sometimes it would look fine and sometimes it would look off. And then when I watched the documentary, it turns out that sometimes they wouldn't have the full shot. Like when you saw the Enterprise flying or floating, sorry, through
Mhm.
space, like going into standard orbit in a planet or whatever. There would actually be like 3 or 4 layers put on top, because there would be the model, and then they would have a
Mhm.
layer that would be just the engines, the blue engine lights, you
Okay.
know, and then there would be the layer for all the little windows and all that would be a
Mhm.
separate layer, and then the planet and all that stuff. So sometimes they would only have a couple of layers. So they would actually take the layers and then have the computer generate in the Enterprise with the layers, because that's all they had for the shot. So
Mhm.
I kind of respect that, but for the most part, you're seeing the original models that they used. They didn't actually reshoot the models or anything, but they have all the footage that they used when they originally shot the models and all that, because it was all done on film. Then they explain why the series is still in 4:3, because a lot of times, like, people were wanting in 16:9,
Right.
but then they had to explain, like, look, you're going to lose information on the top and bottom, for one
Yeah,
thing,
because
that
it
we've
was
seen.
it was shot in that, but it wasn't intended to be aired that
So
way.
it
So
was shot in film and it's shot in 16:9, but a lot of times they didn't care about the extra size, right? So there's garbage, or
Yeah.
wires or lighting or it's light stand or whatever. So they decide to keep it 4x3 for that reason, and also because a lot of the special effects were done in 4x3, and they were actually showing like the Enterprise floating into one of the space stations and it just disappearing off the side of the screen,
Right.
like just because it was only done in 4x3. And the guy was like showing, like, look, if we did this in 16:9, you lose all the information all there, but it also changed the entire composition of the shot,
Right.
because the original director wanted the ship to come in a certain way, or the ship and a Klingon ship to be facing each other a certain way. If they did in 16:9, it would change the composition. So we talked about extras. I was within 23 minutes of the first disc, and I was just like enthralled. I was just loving all this stuff because I love the fact that they just went through so much length to get everything done as it originally was intended. Amazing job. Unfortunately, nobody bought it and it flopped, but Jesus, man.
Well, I'm guessing it was part of a
Hey, Duke.
10 years ago. Hey, Duke. Uh, Probably that was like the big boom of, all right, we're going to start making new Star Trek TV shows,
Yeah.
and it was the time of the JJ film. So it was like, all right, this is it. We'll give you this really shiny apple, but please check out all the other fruit that we're selling now.
Yeah, maybe like the team that they have there were just so dedicated to keeping everything like original. Like there was like one woman, her job was just to find all the shots that she could possibly find. She would spend like an entire month looking for like one shot because she wanted the show to look good and as it originally was intended. And for them to have to compromise and use CG or upconvert old footage, it just, they just didn't want to do it. Like there was a way to fix
Mhm.
it, they would fix it. And it's still, there is still some shots where you notice it. Like there was one shot where I'm watching Tasha Yar comes into she's showing like these aliens the holodeck, and she walks into the holodeck and she picks up like the holodeck puts like this komodo on the wall so she can do some jujitsu and show the aliens jujitsu, and it appears on the wall and she has to pick it up, and you could tell that they up converted that shot, and I'm guessing because she interacted with the special effect that they couldn't
Right.
find a way to fix it. I'm guessing that that's what happened. So you still do get that sometimes, but man, like 98% of the show is just, it looks so good. It looks fantastic. I'm seeing a bunch of detail that I've never seen before. Like
I don't know if I should mention this now because I don't know if it's going to spoil it for you. But have you seen the black paper?
black paper. No.
Have you seen the black paper?
No.
Well, this was revealed to me. There's a. I don't know if you should watch it now because it might spoil your enjoyment of this high definition. But Red Letter Media did a video on this a little while ago of the, now that you can see so much of what goes on in Next Generation in high definition, there are so many instances where you can see like their marks on the floor,
Oh,
or
okay. Yeah.
lights and things like that. And because the back panel was reflective, they would constantly have to take into account all the lights
Right.
reflecting off of that. So if you look at the back panel, which was largely black but had that L cars stuff all over it, they sometimes would just tape black paper up all over in order
Oh.
to hide the reflecting light.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, I mean, sometimes it's just like, it's insane. There's just literally black instruction paper taped all
Yeah.
over the
And
place.
it was probably hidden in standard def. Like you would never notice it in
Right, you
standard
wouldn't have
def.
noticed it
Yeah.
so much, but in high definition and the giant TVs people have nowadays.
Yeah, Bill's right. The stunt doubles are obvious,
Mhm.
especially Tasha Yar in that one episode. Oh my goodness!
Well,
And
anytime somebody has to flip over a chair or a console or anything, come on.
Planet of the Tapes is throwing shade at Shatner. I shall not repeat that here. That is my captain. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Anyways, what the heck? Where was I going with that? I don't remember. Anyways,
You like the Star Trek.
Oh,
All
they
right, now
might no. So they might have. I was going to say they might have fixed that because they have fixed a lot of things. Like there, for instance, there was one shot on a planet. It was like a planet with a lot of flora, and there's an infamous shot where there was a pot that was seen. Like some of the flora was like just put in pots, right? And they put it off the side, but they shoot it, above the pot. But there was one that got in there, so they just kind of CG'd a rock in front of it, kind of thing. So they might have fixed that stuff on these Blu-rays. I don't know, but I'll keep an eye out for it and I'll report.
Okay.
So this has been the first time in 15 years that I watched the Harrison Ford had a real bulge. That's good. I'm glad that he had. I mean, that's Star Wars fans for you, right? Always checking out bulges. I'm not judging. That's what they want to do. Go for it. I'm not. Hey, I don't notice these things. I'm focused on the story and whatnot. But whatever floats their boat. It's okay with me. So first time in 15 years, I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of season 1, depending on if you're watching it in syndication or not, I guess, because Farpoint is 2 episodes in syndication and was originally 1 episode. Would you like to hear how I feel about the quality of these first 3 episodes?
Sure.
All right. Well, so far, I've watched Encounter at Farpoint, The Naked Now, and the infamous Code of Honor. So Farpoint is a fine introduction to the series. It's not great. It's not perfect. Tasha Yar definitely does not fit in the show anywhere. She's very awkwardly placed. I can see why she had left the show because she doesn't really have a spot. They awkwardly try to wedge in her backstory about how she was a young girl on a hostile planet, like, with a lot of hostile people, and she avoided rapes and all that stuff until she finally left the planet at 15 years old. So she's got some sort of harsh past and all that, but they still kind of make her like, she's still kind of, I don't want to use the word slutty, but they make her very promiscuous on the show. And I'm not sure exactly what they were going for with all that. Like Encounter at Farpoint or The Naked Now, that's the one where she sleeps with Data. And then by the 3rd episode, she's attracted to this leader of this planet. It just, I don't know. The whole thing's just kind of weird. But a lot of the building blocks for the characters in the first series are there, and you could see that how they were building it, and they were already giving like the characters some depth. Like even something simple like Jean-Luc Picard seems to have it all together, except when children are around. He's very awkward around children, so they're already giving you some sort of something to bite into with these characters, giving them some teeth, making them a little more interesting than just 2D things. So I think Encounter at Farpoint, it was a decent intro to the series. And then the next 2 episodes are basically they feel kind of like leftovers from the original series. So the Naked,
that's kind of what they were. Yeah,
I think so. Like a lot of them were. There was the Star Trek Phase 2 where they were trying to bring Star Trek back in the 70s.
Right. Well, I mean, the first season of Next Generation, they were still using a lot of, I don't know if they were using the actual writers or just scripts that were written back in like the 60s and 70s.
The writers,
by
yeah.
people, right, by writers who were born, decades earlier.
Yeah.
So some of the things, what's the 3rd episode you watched? The
Code of Honor.
title? Is that the one where there's like
It's the
is that
African.
the racial
Yeah.
one? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like some of the ways things were presented in
Yeah.
those that first season, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, this feels a bit dated.
You can blame the writers a little bit. There was okay. Let me just get before we get to Code of Honor. Let me just talk a little bit about Naked Now, which is basically a sequel to an original series episode called The Naked Time. It's the
Mhm.
infamous episode where everyone is infected on the Enterprise with an infection that basically gives them the same, like as if they were drunk. Gives them,
Mhm.
they feel like as if they're drunk, so they're less inhibited. And it's the episode where Sulu is, he's got the
Oh, the
foil.
rapier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's got his shirt off and all that stuff. So it's that infamous episode. It's very almost the same thing. Like, remember that when young ensign takes over the Enterprise from engineering, he locks himself into
Yes. Yes.
engineering, and
Mhm.
he's infected, and he's like, he's going on about dessert and all that stuff. The exact same thing happens in this episode, except it's Wesley Crusher who
Mhm.
locks himself into engineering and starts going on about dessert and all that stuff. It's an okay episode. You could see a lot of this was like to kind of like comfortably bring in traditional Star Trek fans into this new series. Like, they weren't trying to rock the boat too much. So then the third episode, Code of Honor, which is regarded by many as not only the worst episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, but regarded by many as the worst episode of Star Trek of all time. Although after watching it myself, I got to say, I think I've seen a lot more worse Star Trek in the newer series. And even, there's some episodes of Voyager that were far worse than this one. But yeah, it's infamous for being racist because of its portrayal of this. Basically, they go to an alien planet, and the alien planet is inhabited by black people who are kind of stereotypes from Africa. So it's like an African tribe planet, and it doesn't all make sense why the Federation would be dealing with them, because if they were that primitive, the Prime Directive wouldn't allow them to interact with them.
Mhm.
But they do establish at the beginning of the episode that they have their own transporter ability. They insist on using their own transporter and transporting onto the Enterprise in the cargo bay for some reason. So I guess that's supposed to be the reason why they decide that they can, they fall under Prime Directive guidelines. If you don't know what the Prime Directive is, it's that the uh, the Federation does not deal with planets, does not interfere with planets until they reach the warp capability, because they feel
Right.
like they will uh, change the
You don't want
direction.
affect, yeah,
Right. It's supposed to be
the natural progression of the
it's the right
civilization.
way to do colonialism. Let them progress on their own, and then introduce yourself to them. Let them come up to your speed, and then that's basically what the Prime Directive is. So, anyways, this planet has a cure for this virus that's affecting another planet within the Federation. It's a deadly virus. People are dying like crazy. Beverly Crusher, the doctor, for some reason, she cannot replicate this cure. It has to be organic from this planet. And so they uh, trying to negotiate to get this cure, and they have to follow all the rules and customs of this planet in order to get this virus. And apparently, part of the rules and customs from this planet is that if you see something and you want it, you can just take it for yourself. And then it's up to the other person to fight you for it in order to get it back. That's part of their custom, even though it doesn't jive with Federation's customs of like, that's stealing, that's wrong. That's what they do. So this leader decides that he is going to steal Tasha Yar and bring her to his planet in order for the Federation to have to fight to get her back, because he actually wants this other woman to fight Tasha Yar and get killed, and then he gets her land, because the women on this planet own property and men only defend the property. It's not a very good episode. It's poor quality. I'd say it's like a D minus, but I don't think it is as notoriously bad as people as the internet has made it out to be over the years.
Hmm.
It is racist, but I think it's racist for different reasons than people think. After I watched it, I was a little confused as to why it was racist, and I did go onto the internet, and there was a black person on the internet who did explain why it's racist, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I totally agree. So it's not so much the cultural appropriation. Is that the word? I don't know. Appropriation.
I
It's not the
haven't seen
fact
the
that
episode in a very, very long time, so
yeah,
I
so
can't.
they dress as that, and it's not that the fact that the on the planet they're all black. It's the fact that um that the black person basically stole a white woman as property, and that's like a black stereotype that all black men want to steal and rape and take over white women. It's that kind of like old mentality that doesn't sit well with a lot of them, and I could kind of see that. There was one person who brought up, well, what about because what about, you got to say what about when you argue. What about that episode? Remember that episode where basically it was like Irish immigrants on a planet, and they were immigrating to another planet. They were hardworking. Uh, they weren't Irish. They were like some sort of race, but they were basically based on the potato famine Irish who were coming to America and trying to make a life for themselves. And they were all hardworking and blah blah blah. And they said, "What about that? That's a cultural stereotype. That's an Irish stereotype." And I'm Irish, and I'm not offended by that. The response was, "Well, that episode romanticized. Is that the word I want to use? Roman. They romance. Basically, they made it like they were like all good people. It was a good stereotype. It was a pleasant stereotype that they were hardworking and all that. They might drink a little bit and get into fights a little bit, because that's what Irish people do. They fight, drink, and fight. Right? That's the stereotype. But it's all it was either done in a good natured way, or it was done in a way that it romanticized that era of the Irish people. Whereas this episode focused on some bad stereotypes that aren't necessarily true. So I kind of get it. So I get the backlash on the episode. I think that people really have lost focus on why it's bad. It's not necessarily the dress and all that stuff, but that aspect of the storytelling. And then so apparently, like, this episode was like none of the actors wanted to do it. They all didn't like the script, apparently. Michael Doran is not in the episode, and it's questionable whether he wasn't in the episode because he didn't want to be in it, or it was an episode that he naturally wasn't in. It happened such a long time ago.
I don't know. I mean, there are plenty of episodes where there are cast members missing just
Yeah,
because
like they would
it's
get
hard to keep track of like nine. What was it? 9 original cast members?
yeah, like they would have episodes where they wouldn't be in because they would get a break. Basically, you're not in this episode, you get a break, and they would have more screen time or more story time in following episodes.
Right.
Although the way Brent Spiner talks about it, when his character got really popular, he went and asked them to cut back some of his episodes because it was too much, and they told him, tough. You're the popular character, you're driving the show. Anyways, apparently, like, Jonathan Frakes had tried to get them to take the episode off of the streaming services, off of to not have it rebroadcast anymore. Have it on the Blu-ray is fine, but take it out of the loop. But they've never done that. But anyways, I had no idea that the episode was that controversial, where even the actors on it were, not too pleased with it. Anyways,
Yeah, I hate when they remove episodes because like if you screwed up and you put out something that's like, that's kind of off, just accept it. It's like
I say put a
made
disclaimer. I just say put a
you had a
disclaimer.
bad call,
Yeah.
but to remove it and everything, I don't know.
I found this interesting though too. I don't know how true this is, but apparently, according to some sources, some people are saying, as Fox would say, some people are saying, like, that's a source, that Gene Roddenberry actually fired the director because in the original script, it was not written and this is where we're getting to the writers not necessarily being the culprits of everything that went wrong with the first season, but apparently in the original script, the planet was not populated by only black people. The only black people that were specified were the main villain's servants were black. That was the only part. So it was the director's choice, apparently, to make it an entirely black culture, which I don't know. I don't, believe it or not, I did not work in television in the 80s. I don't know how much director of a episode has a say in that level of a show. Like he can actually make a decision on making all the characters black, but apparently that's what Gene Roddenberry, he wasn't happy with the episode, and he fired the director, and he never directed another episode. So there you go. Who knew there was so much controversy in the first 3 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation? But
I certainly didn't.
yeah, but yeah, get these Blu-rays, man. I got them on sale. I think I got them for I think I got the whole series for $80, which, you know.
I was kicking myself for not having an international Blu-ray player, which I believe you do,
Yes, I do.
because I recently I was checking out a little online shopping, like an eBay site, and somebody had the Star Trek 50th anniversary Blu-ray big old collector's
Oh,
bundle,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
was the original series,
Mhm.
the animated series, the 6 original films, all in one big box,
Wow.
all Blu-rays, and then like I think you got a pin and some other little fancy things
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there. This whole set was it was a used item, but it was still complete in package, not been
Mhm.
opened. And it was listed at what is the equivalent of $100, but it
Damn.
was on sale 60% off.
Ooh, so $40?
$40
Ooh.
Japanese. So you put that into US dollars, it was probably more like 32, $33, something like
Oh
that.
my goodness.
Region B. And
You know,
I was debating, like, should I just get it and then get a region free player? Because that would be economically worth it.
well,
It was a time sale. I was like, ultimately I passed.
I'm gonna tell you something. So I bought a region free player
Hmm.
because I was a bit lazy. You can
Hmm.
apparently, through firmware, you can actually make any Blu-ray player a region free Blu-ray player, as long as it
Really?
has a USB, or you have a
Hmm.
like you got burnable Blu-rays that you can put in there. Some way for the Blu-ray player to take in new firmware, which most Blu-ray players do. But apparently, yeah, just through, you got to download some software and install it in there, and it'll become a region free Blu-ray player. I just didn't do it because the Blu-ray player I was looking at, I needed to buy a Blu-ray player and a 4K one, and the international one was just there, and I'm like, oh, I might as well just get the international one. It was just a few dollars more, so that's why I was just lazy. I was like, for that amount of money, I don't have to do all the research myself. So, but
Right.
apparently, yeah,
Yeah.
you can change, you can
Like,
make it one. Like, there's only 3
yeah,
regions, right? With Blu-ray, there's just A, B, and C.
I believe, yeah, just the 3.
And you can even do the DVDs as well. There's a bunch of regions for DVDs. I think a dozen or
Yeah,
more,
they went up there.
uh, because they were really worried about piracy with the DVDs. But anyways,
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like, realistically, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna go like, oh, I gotta download. Some people are into that. I don't care. It's not the legality or anything. It's just I'm not a techno savvy guy. I don't like doing that kind of stuff.
I get
So,
that I get that all the time too. They're like, my mom, like, I'm showing her the Android box, and she's like, "Oh, you know how to do all that stuff? Like, that's how you got that? You got to do this stuff." I'm like, "No, I don't. I go to YouTube, and there's some guy on there that knows what he's doing,
mhm.
and I listen to him, and I follow what he does. That's all. That's all it is. I don't have any
Yeah, I don't want to
knowledge."
do that either. I don't want to do that either. You know what bothers me? Um, long time ago, you said I should try out that Far Cry Blood Dragon
Yes.
something game,
Yeah.
right? So I bought it on Steam when it was on sale. I was like, okay, cool, I'll try this out. I go to load it up and then I
It's region
install it
locked.
and everything. And there's something there that says, hey, you can't, you got to add this thing. There's something missing. You got to download this thing or whatever. It's not playing. I'm looking it up on the forums. They're like, well, yeah, you got to go to this site and you got to download this thing and you got to change this on your computer. I'm like, no, I bought the game. I click the install button. It should just play. I paid money for this. I'm not running around finding patches and workarounds. Make the game work. I paid for it. The end. That's it. You screwed me out of my $5.
I agree. I agree with you, but the problem with games on the PC, it's not like PlayStation 4 or an old Nintendo or whatever. When you sell a game on the PlayStation 4, everybody is using the same PlayStation 4, the
Mhm.
same PlayStation 4 controller, so it all works. On PC, you got so much different equipment. Everybody's using different equipment, and it's expected to run on all this different equipment. And essentially, it doesn't work out that way because there are so many different variations and whatnot. So you might just have a variation where it doesn't work with your hardware unless you
Right.
take a few extra steps.
I ain't doing it. No extra steps. It should work the way it is. Another game, I bash Steam right now. Another game I have, for some reason, when I install it, you get the language options, like choose your
Yes.
language. Okay, da, 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 da. It doesn't bring that up. It automatically installs in French every single time.
Wow.
I'm like, what is going on? Delete it, uninstall it, put it back in. French every single time. It's like, what's going on? How can this one little thing? And once it
I don't
once it's
know.
in there, it's like you can't change it. You can't go around and find a menu or
Huh.
whatever. Don't know.
I bet you there's someone that has a solution.
I'm
Uh,
sure there are
yeah.
plenty of people that have solutions.
Yeah.
I do not have the patience to go and waste. I will just say, you know what? This isn't working. I'm gonna go play this over here. Not that I play games
See,
anymore.
I'm not going to say I love that stuff, but when that is presented to me, I'm like, oh, this is a challenge now. I'm going to
Right.
get
I
this
don't care. I
running.
have zero interest in that
Not
shit.
only am I going to get it running, I'm going to get it running in 4K. I'm going to get it running at 60 frames per second. I'm going to get it running at 7.1 sound, whatever it is. I just see that and I'm like, all right, I lick my chops. I'm like,
You go for it.
I'm going to make this game my bitch.
That is why I purchased physical media. I just put the disc in the player.
Physical
Okay,
media,
go right there. I don't have to mess around with any settings or anything.
same thing can happen with physical media.
Play.
It's not immune to
No,
it. It's the
it
same
works.
programming.
All of these things work.
All right, that's it. We've done enough. That's an hour and 40 minutes. It seems to be our natural time to end. So let's end it. Thank everyone in the chat, even though there was too many Star Wars fans in this chat. I don't like all these Star Wars fans. They can go away. But the
I
rest,
don't mind the Star Wars fans. Just like
I
come up with
kid.
something new. Come up
I
with something new. I don't like Star Trek. I like Star Wars. All right.
Actually, I was listening to Duke and Chris Roberts' latest episode, and they were kind of bashing the Star Wars a little bit. I was a little like, whoa, my goodness, they're not digging a lot of the new Star Wars. Whoa, this is like they're you know what? It's the prime directive. We have to let the Star Wars fans come to our level, and then we can interfere with them. That's it. We have to stick to the prime directive when it comes to Star Wars fans. They don't have warp capability yet. Once they do, then we can interfere. All right. Thanks everyone in the chat. We had Deke, we had Bill, and we had Duke, and we had Chris Roberts, Planet of the Tapes. It's a good episode, good times. Thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.